Now,
Good
Ahmed,
morning.
when we look at what's happening in the Egyptian economy, there's just a lot of excitement surrounding what President Sisi has been able to achieve going forward. And of course, with devaluing the pound, a lot of foreign investment looking to get involved in that space. Can you tell us, set out the picture for us in terms of what's available for foreign investors when it comes to oil and gas?
In our part of the world, Hadley, and in Egypt specifically, governments have traded sustainability for popularity. And that meant that for a long period of time, we had a lot of subsidies. We had currency that was not properly valued. We had a lot of services that were subsidized. And this government has decided, for good reason, that this is not possible anymore, and that it engaged in deep reforms over the last period of time, starting 4 years back, but really accelerating the pace of reforms recently. On the oil and gas sector, Egypt remains a very important player. Gas discoveries and infrastructure, especially as far as the LNG terminals in Edco and Damietta, those two have meant that Egypt is ready to play a very important role as a hub for energy, especially gas exports. And that has been a big theme recently with Cyprus and with Israel gas flowing deals that are the impetus for this gas in the future to flow to the European markets via the LNG terminals, both in Edco and Damietta.
As you mentioned, Ahmed, there's been a lot of changes to the Middle East energy mix, particularly for Egypt and countries like Egypt, like Lebanon, for example. Talk me through this in terms of the volatility that we're seeing recently in the oil prices. How much of an impact is that having on a country like Egypt?
The volatility, the higher oil prices, higher oil and gas prices are not good for the Egyptian economy. Egypt is still short oil. Probably it will be oil and gas, because even after Zohr, we will have to buy our gas from the foreign partner, Eni in this particular case, and BP. So that will also again it means that Egypt is short oil and gas. This will is putting pressure on both the trade deficit and the budget deficit, and this is why the government has engaged in those deep-seated reforms by making sure that there is an announced policy of abolishing subsidies over a period of time, and the government has been extremely diligent in following through with those reform programs, and something to be commended. You know, this is not a very popular move, but something a very important move, a necessary move, and the government should be commended for following through in spite of those unpopular reforms.
Ahmed, it's Nancy here in Singapore. Can you give us a better update here on the Egyptian refining company, which Qalaa holds a significant stake in here? There have been some delays on the project. We understand it too is crucial to the developments for the national petrol supply. So please give us an update on where we are in that project, and when will it start to benefit Qalaa Holdings financially?
The ERC project, we're proceeding at a very fast pace. We've started testing the motors, doing the insulation, the painting, etc. I think that by August we will be finished totally with construction, and probably we will introduce hydrocarbon into the refinery by probably early November.
Early November. So some analysts I've seen quoted are quite hopeful that the ERC will improve Qala's cash flow. That will help in efforts when it comes to alleviating some debt concerns. Is that a safe assumption as you see it?
Yeah, I think the market had a lot of doubts whether we will be able to complete the refinery of this size. This is, after all, a $4.2 billion refinery with no government debt government guarantees on the debt. So this is a very big endeavor for a private sector company to undertake. thank God we have been successful, and you know, early November is not that far away. So the economics obviously of the refinery has been very strong as a result mainly of it's a very complex refinery to start with, but we got an extra bump because of the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, new rule on putting curbs on the use of high sulfur fuel oil. And that meant that the futures market of high sulfur fuel oil has gone down substantially, meaning that our margins will see a significant expansion over the first 4 years.
Now, Ahmed, the last time that I was visiting you in Cairo, we had the chance to come out and look at that site. We looked at the massive hydrocracker that you had brought out as well. A lot of investment over the last couple of years for Qalaa Holdings in this space, as you mentioned, and a lot of questions about other IPOs in Egypt, whether this is going to be a big year for IPOs. What's your take?
Certainly, it's going to be a good year for IPOs, as the previous segment demonstrated. You know, the global growth is still means that emerging markets still is going to be a good year for emerging markets, and hence I think it's a good window for people to take for the IPO market. And the government has declared that it will sell stakes of 23 different companies in the stock market. Certainly, we at Qalaa Holdings will take this opportunity within the next probably 18 months, 12 to 18 months, to go through 2, maybe 3 IPOs of our investments.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.